Look out your window for a second. There's something missing out there, something enormous, and you have never once noticed it's gone. For almost the entire story of our planet, a walk in the woods meant sharing it with giants, animals the size of cars, some even bigger. Ground sloths that stood taller than a giraffe, armored beasts as big as a small car, birds too heavy to fly and too huge to fight. For 2 million years, Earth belonged to the giants, and then, in the blink of a geological eye, almost every one of them was gone. This is one of the great murder mysteries in the story of life. A whole planet of giants wiped out, and there are really only two suspects. The first is a changing climate, a world heating up as the Ice Age ended. The second is a brand new arrival, one that had just begun spreading into every corner of the Earth. Us. By the end of this, 3 strange clues will point to the answer. A fruit in your kitchen built for a monster. An animal alive today still running from a ghost, and the one place on Earth where the giants never fell. So who did it? The warming world or us? Let's follow the bodies. To feel what we lost, forget Africa for a minute and come to America around 13,000 years ago. You'd recognize the land, the rivers, the hills, the wide sky, but the animals on it would stop your heart. Standing in the trees ahead of you is a ground sloth. Not the slow little thing from the zoo, but a beast the size of an elephant, reared up on its hind legs, dragging down branches 20 feet in the air. You would barely come up to its knee. And it isn't even the strangest thing out here. Rolling past is a glyptodont, an armadillo grown to the size of a car, wearing a dome of bony armor and swinging a spiked club for a tail. There are beavers as big as bears, wolves with jaws that crack bone, and camels, real camels, grazing across Texas. And hunting all of them, lions and cheetahs right here in America. For a few thousand years, this place was a Serengeti to rival Africa's. Every continent had its own cast of giants. Australia had wombats the size of a rhino. Ireland had deer with antlers 12 feet across. This was the normal world, the one life had spent millions of years building, and almost all of it is now bones in a museum drawer. So what happened? What could empty an entire planet of its biggest, strongest, most successful animals? Start with the obvious suspect. For most of those 2 million years, the world was locked in an ice age. Not one long freeze, but a rhythm. Cold, then warm, then cold again. The giants were built for the cold ends of that rhythm. Thick fur, huge bodies to hold their heat, whole species tuned to a frozen world. Then, around 14,000 years ago, the last great freeze broke, and it broke fast. The ice pulled back and the planet warmed hard. The cold grassland the giants fed on turned to forest and swamp. Their entire grocery store changed almost overnight. For a mammoth built for tundra, a warming world is a slow-motion disaster. The cold retreats, and your whole world shrinks with it. So there's your motive. The climate changed, the habitat collapsed, the giants couldn't keep up. Case closed, right? It's a clean story. It's in a lot of textbooks. There's just one problem with it, and it's a big one. Remember that rhythm, cold, warm, cold, warm? This wasn't the first time the ice melted. It was the latest in a very long series. Over 2 million years, the planet had swung in and out of ice ages dozens of times. Warm spells just like this one, again and again and again. And through every single one of them, the giants were fine. The mammoths, the sloths, the giant kangaroos rode out warming just like this over and over for 1 million years. So here's the real problem. If warming didn't kill them the last 20 times, why would it suddenly kill them now? Something about this thaw was different. Something was loose in the world this time that had never been there before. The climate has an alibi. It had done all this before, and everyone survived, which means we need to look a lot harder at the other suspect. It showed up for the very first time right as the giants began to die. All around the world in that last thaw, one animal was doing something no animal had ever done. Spreading. Everywhere at once. Small, slow, no claws, no fangs, no armor. But it hunted in groups, threw sharpened sticks and carried fire. us. Here's where the case cracks open. Scientists did something simple. They mapped when the giants died on each continent, next to when humans first arrived on each one. And the two maps are the same map. The giants don't all die together. They die in waves, and every wave breaks in the exact place, at the exact time that people walk in. Because these animals had never seen a human before. To a giant sloth, you weren't a predator. You were a strange little thing it had no reason to fear. Scientists call them naive prey. And an animal that doesn't run is an animal you can walk right up to. A giant with no fear of you isn't a monster, it's dinner. Follow the trail. It starts in Australia around 45,000 years ago, the exact moment the first people arrived. A wombat the size of a rhinoceros, a kangaroo taller than a pro basketball player, a 500-pound bird that couldn't fly. We know people were there because of the eggs. Hundreds of sites across Australia hold that giant bird's shells, burnt in ancient campfires. We were cooking them. Within a few thousand years of us arriving, almost all of it was gone. 85% of Australia's giants, while the climate had barely twitched. One continent could be a coincidence. So cross the ocean to the place with the cleanest evidence of all, and the fastest killing. Back to America, 13,000 years ago. The ice road opens, and people pour into two whole continents that had never held a single human. Two continents packed with giants. Giants that had spent millions of years with no reason to fear anything walking on two legs. What happens next takes maybe 2,000 years. In that blink, 3 out of every 4 large animals in the Americas vanish. The ground sloths, gone. The glyptodonts, the American lions, the camels, the wild horses, the mammoths. Gone, gone, gone. And we have found the crime scenes. Mammoth skeletons with stone spear points still lodged between the ribs, butchered right where they fell. Now, some people blame a comet, a giant airburst that supposedly wiped them all out. It's a dramatic idea, but the evidence keeps falling apart, and most scientists just don't buy it. The simplest story still fits best. New people arrive, the fearless giants die. Same as Australia, same as everywhere. But maybe you're still not convinced. Maybe humans and warming just happen to arrive together twice. So we need a perfect experiment. And it turns out the Earth had already run that experiment for us, out on the islands. So far the story is simple. Earth had giants for 2 million years and they died, continent by continent, right as we arrived, while the climate keeps its alibi. Islands make the perfect crime scene. Small, isolated, reached by humans only recently, and we can date that arrival almost to the year. Take New Zealand. Until about 700 years ago, no human had ever set foot there. Its giant was the moa, a bird 12 feet tall with no predators and no fear. People landed, and the moa, every last species of it, was gone in under 100 years. Not a slow decline, a single human lifetime. Madagascar tells the same story. Elephant birds heavier than a grown man, lemurs the size of gorillas, fine for millions of years until people came, and then gone. Island after island, the same grim clockwork. Humans arrive, and the giants who never learned to be afraid fall within the blink of an eye. By now, the pattern looks almost too neat. It can really seem like we just marched around the planet eating everything bigger than us. But real murder cases are rarely that clean, and if we want the honest answer, we have to give the climate its due. Because the truth is a little stranger and a lot more uncomfortable than one lone killer. Here is what most scientists now think actually happened. It wasn't the climate alone, and it wasn't us alone. It was both at the worst possible moment. The warming was real. It shrank the giants' world, broke up their herds, and pushed them into smaller and smaller pockets. It made them fragile. But fragile animals had survived hard times before. What they had never survived, not once in 2 million years, was us arriving at the very same moment. A shrinking, stressed population can take a lot. What it cannot take is a clever new predator picking off the survivors, year after year, while it's already down. And if you want proof that we were the difference, the single most damning clue in the whole case, Just look at the one place on Earth the giants never fell. Africa, elephants, rhinos, hippos, giraffes. The giants are still there. The only place on the planet they still walk. And that is not luck. It's where our own species was born. Its animals grew up right beside us for millions of years, watching us slowly learn to hunt, and they learned, the hard way, to fear us. Everywhere else on Earth, we didn't show up as just another animal. We showed up as a surprise, a predator no creature had ever been taught to run from. So did we eat the giants? Not exactly. We hunted them, crowded them, and burned their land, and we did it to animals a shifting climate had already brought to their knees. We weren't the whole story, but we were the last straw. And on a world full of fearless giants, we were a very heavy one. The giants are gone, but here's the haunting part. They didn't leave cleanly. The world is still shaped around them like a chalk outline around a body. Pick up an avocado. Look at that giant, ridiculous seed. No animal alive can swallow a fruit like that whole and carry it away. It wasn't made for us. It was made for the ground sloths, giants that gulped it down and planted it miles away. The sloths are gone, but the avocado is still waiting for them. It just doesn't know it yet. Out on the American plains runs the pronghorn, a kind of antelope. It can sprint 55 miles an hour, far faster than anything that hunts it today. Which makes no sense. Unless you remember what used to hunt it, an American cheetah, built for pure speed, that vanished 12,000 years ago. The pronghorn is still running from a ghost. It never got the message that the chase is over. And the mammoths? A few of them held on. On a tiny island off Siberia, a herd of woolly mammoths was still alive 4,000 years ago, while the Egyptians were building the pyramids. We picture mammoths as impossibly ancient. But the last of them died in a world that already had cities and kings and writing. We only just missed them. Which brings us back to your window. That empty space out there, the one you never noticed, is real. Every continent is missing its giants. And the reason it's so quiet out there isn't a comet or bad luck. It's a small, clever, restless animal that spread across the entire world. It's you. The giants didn't simply die out. They were emptied out, and the emptiness has our fingerprints all over it. But the case isn't really closed, because we never actually stopped. And what we're doing to the giants still left, the elephants, the whales, the last big wild things, is a story for another day.